I'm Peter Grant with Zaner Metals in Denver. You're watching This Week in Metals. You're also watching my colleague Peter Thomas. How are you?
I'm good. as you could see, I'm in Chicago from all the landmarks around me, and uh, uh, everything is good, man. We got nice weather, and the markets have been rocking, and it's really been exciting,
Rocking and rolling.
rocking and rolling, baby.
Gold set a 9 month low at 1676.73 last week,
Good,
and on
certainly
Monday
did.
last week, and was generally supported throughout the remainder of the week. Except, well, on Friday it sold off rather
I was
sharply, but
just
then
gonna
came
say,
back.
yeah,
So
it was interesting because there were a whole lot of people that didn't want to be short over the weekend. You could see the initial break came in, and then it was bid all day long. It was strange trade, and for the first time in a while, we were a full $10 over spot in China. I was like in Hong Kong. I was just like, what is going on? So they're buying in Asia. So I think that's having a kind of a trickle down effect too.
right, and so we ended the last week up 1.6%. It was the first higher weekly close in four.
That's
So
good.
that's encouraging. And
Yeah,
your point about Asia being buyers
right.
is encouraging, and it's something that we were looking for when we got down to a 16 handle, which we have. But
Yes. But
we're
you were
still
you
we're
which you
still
predicted 6 months ago, by the way. Hats off for that one.
well, we're still seeing massive outflows from the ETFs. 19 consecutive sessions through Thursday last week.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
We might see inflows on Friday, maybe when those data come in. We'll
Yeah,
have to see. But that's year to date outflows are around 5 million ounces right
it's been
now.
big
So
numbers.
that's
Yeah.
a big hurdle to overcome with the physical buyers. The important thing to remember, and I wrote this in my newsletter this week, is price discovery happens in the paper market. So
Yes.
it gets a little bit more emphasis than the physical buyers in Asia. There's some time delay there as well. So
Well, and people don't see it. We do, which is why we try to report it here, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And you know what? I mean, honestly, Pete, it was same day, same facts. It was yields as well as strength in the dollar, just putting pressure on it. I mean, nothing really changed.
yeah. So similar story. So how
Yeah.
about them yields?
Yeah.
The
How
uh, the
about
the
them
ten
yields?
year on Friday hit a 13-month high of 1.635%. I'm not, again, even with these yields at more than 1 year highs,
Right.
I'm really not all that impressed with the performance in the dollar. And I think that there's a couple of things factoring into that.
Oh yeah.
The big thing, obviously, was the $1.9 trillion
$1 trillion
stimulus
bill.
bill that was signed this week. So the national debt is now just about $28 trillion, and with the
Almost to your
signing
number. Yep.
of that bill,
Mm-hmm.
we're on the fast track to $30 trillion in
30
debt.
trillion. Yeah, because by the way, the ink is still wet on that. And now they're talking about a $2 trillion influx with which they're going to, quote, rebuild the infrastructure, which is going to be very interesting. We'll have to see how that goes and hope for the best. Another 2 trillion. I kind of feel like a
Who's
traffic cop
counting?
standing in front of the crash on the side of the road with bodies all over the highway going, nothing to see here, folks. Keep moving. Everything's fine. You
This
know,
this is the big test of modern monetary theory, where debt don't matter.
that don't matter, had it. That's right, man.
Well,
It,
we're going to
it's,
find out if it
yeah,
matters or
we
not.
are.
But I think that this creates a pretty substantial headwind for the dollar. When all these $1,400
Oh, boy.
checks go out,
Yeah.
M1's going to continue on its parabolic trajectory, and we'll see what happens with inflation. We did get some news on inflation last week. It was generally a little bit hotter than expected.
Yes.
CPI for
CPI.
January, or I'm sorry, for February was up 0.4%. That was in line with expectations, but the year over year rate is 1.7% now. Core was a little bit below expectations at only plus 0.1%, but PPI, and PPI was hot in January. It
Yes.
remains pretty hot in February, plus 0.5%, again in line with expectations.
Yeah.
But the annualized rate jumped from 1.7% in January to 2.8% in February.
Interesting.
Core went to 2.5% from 2.0% in February.
And
So definitely
the
hitting the
numbers,
producer level
Peter,
first.
the numbers, Peter, are kind of hard in a lot of ways because we have a lot of skew coming in from a year of unemployment, from people being locked into their homes. I mean, this has been some of these numbers are just really hard to interpret. And I know the guys are doing their best to do it, but you kind of look at it and scratch your head on some of these.
Yep. Yeah. So, inflation is a big theme, and I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
well, certainly inflation expectations are running high at this point because of all the capital sloshing around,
Sure.
and the rise in yields, doesn't
The
help the
payback.
cause,
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
when you're talking $30 trillion in debt, even a small bump in
A
yields
16th is a
can
big number,
sting.
man.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. But again, who cares? We just borrow more money to pay the interest on the old money.
Ah,
Who
just
cares?
keep printing, baby,
Yeah. Hey,
Oh,
speaking
man.
of still printing, that's
Yes,
basically what the ECB decided to do. They had their policy meeting last week,
I saw that.
and they're going to increase the rate of asset purchases to sort of check the rise in yields that they're seeing. I think ultimately the Fed's going to have to do the same thing if
Eh,
yields continue to
I don't
rise.
even think it's a question. I think the euro, as you're talking about the euro policy, central bank of Euro in the EU, it said basically, yeah, we're going to buy back debt, and who else is going to buy it? China slowed down. Putin said that he is 100% free of the dollar now. I mean, we're seeing some big players stepping away from the dollar and in a big way. So I'm with you 100% on your postulation here.
Yeah, we'll get news this week from the FOMC. 2-day meeting starts on Tuesday, so we'll hear the
We
policy
get our notes
statement
Wednesday,
on
probably. Yeah,
Wednesday.
yeah,
And Chairman Powell, in recent weeks in testimony before the Finance Committee in the Senate, and
yeah.
what we used to call the Humphrey Hawkins
Oh,
testimony
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
back in
Right.
the day,
Back in the day.
um, was dovish, but not overtly so, and didn't seem terribly concerned about the rise in yields. But now we're 1.6% in the 10-year, so maybe he's a
Yeah,
little bit more concerned this week. So we'll have to see
we'll have to
what
see
kind of tone he
where it
takes.
goes. But
Yeah.
you know what? There's a lot. I mean, silver was under pressure too.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to mention one thing about gold. I'm not
Yeah,
necessarily convinced that the bottom is in yet. So I think
really.
that there's some vulnerability. Um, Here's the important level I'm watching right now. So we traded as low as 1676.73 last
Okay.
week. Um, 20% retracement off of the all-time high 2074 comes in at 1659.94. So 20% drop from a high puts you in bear market territory. I'll tell you, I don't think the fundamentals warrant gold being in a bear market.
I'll tell you what. We're going to add a few more bars to the pile and back here on the
Yeah,
next dip. Let me tell you, because I don't. I'm not buying it either. Okay.
yeah, I agree. So
Yeah, it's just
now let's move on
yeah,
to silver. So silver ended up last week up 2.8%. Again, it was the first higher weekly close in 4 weeks.
yeah.
I like that silver did not set a new low in the same way that gold did. So it was an
Okay.
inside week. Um, and so it held above the 5-week low set the previous week at 24.82. Also like that the ratio is holding well below 70, trading around
Ah,
66 or so
the ratio
on
he's
Friday.
referring to the intermarket spread between the gold silver value.
Yep.
Yep.
So that all is conducive, I think, to the underlying uptrend in silver, and I think ultimately it ends up supporting gold as well.
Yeah.
So I like the setup in the silver market.
Okay. So we're pretty much holding, wearing the same hat, which is buy dips.
Yeah, I think that
Okay.
that's clearly been the market's bias over the
And if you
recent
could
weeks.
find silver rounds, scoop them up and where are the premiums, Pete?
Oh, golly,
They're still high.
yeah,
They're still high.
they're
Yeah.
high.
Okay. Well,
Eight.
you know what? They're going to go higher.
Yeah,
So, and you know what? That's just our opinion from the consumption we're seeing from the product that we get in. Doesn't, we're not telling you to make a trade. We're just saying we think it's wise to accumulate silver on if it trends lower. That's all.
like we've talked about in previous shows, it's the thing that'll get the premiums down is a higher price.
Yes,
So
that's true.
pay
Yeah.
me now, pay me later.
Pay me later. There's no in between. Let's move into what do you say we go into the PGMs here?
Yeah, so
Okay.
platinum ended last week up 7%.
Yeah. Big week.
Again, first higher weekly close in three. Retraced at one point, it was up about it had retraced about half of the recent corrective pullback.
Yep.
I like that the overbought condition that had developed a couple weeks ago
Has
has now
shrugged it
been
off.
relieved,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and it kind of found support. We had talked about, I don't remember if we talked about it on the show or it was in my newsletter, but you remember that consolidative band that formed a symmetrical triangle and then broke out. I liked that congestion band as a good support level on the way
Mhm.
back down, and it held basically, in my opinion, exactly where it
That
had to
that was
hold.
in the newsletter that you offer free to everyone. It comes out on Wednesday, guys. We keep telling you, get your midweek recap and then get our show for an overview of the week. So that's where you had that, Pete.
Yeah, Grant on
Okay,
Gold is where you can
gotcha.
sign up.
I think
Grantongold.com.
something important that we don't want to miss here is WPIC for 2020, the report on platinum came out, and they said that the overall deficit due to pandemic was 932,000 ounces of platinum. Now, their projection for 2021, which I thought was interesting, has dropped all the way down to 60,000 ounces. That they're going to, because they're coming back, great guns, good exploration, good finds up in Canada. They're saying we'll only have 60,000 ounces less than we need, which they kind of put a caveat on at the bottom of the report, which I want to read to you, which said, projections of a 25% increase in usage due to auto tightening regulations, EV, electric vehicles, and hydrogen powered vehicles might increase it by as much as 25%. I was like, oh, okay.
Only
So we're
25%.
we're almost back over 100,000 at least. So it looks as though we're going to be in deficit again this year for production. So the underlying basis of commercial usage for platinum will be greater than the supply that's out there. So once again, the weight falls or the burden falls on our scrappers who are out there running their trucks every day. Bless you guys, man. We appreciate you. You're holding everything up, man.
Yeah. So just to kind of follow up on what you just said, um, our buddy Matt Watson from Precious Metals Commodity Management had some comments.
Okay.
This is relating to an article that came out about the big three PGM producers in South Africa,
Oh, sure.
that they were looking to expand production, and but they still expected, both platinum and palladium to be in deficit
Yeah.
moving forward. And Matt's comment was that, it's usually about a 10 to 15 year cycle from funding to production,
Yes.
and it's going to be too little, too late.
If anyone is really wants the hard facts of what he is referring to, and this is important, we had Mr. Davis, who was in charge of the mines for 40 years, on our show. He did a show with us. You can look it up on YouTube. Go ahead and look at that because he talks about the lag from production to influx of cash, which is not going into the mines in South Africa. So as far as he was concerned, they're about 7 years behind, and they're never going to catch up. That
Di-
was his general feeling, you know.
Matt went on to say that the hydrogen economy is going
Uh,
to suck the PGM market dry.
Not even a question that China is coming in big time. They've already laid out the routes for refueling for all of their trucks that they're going to run on hydrogen. And the yin and the yang is they just bought 1 billion tons of coal to make steel with, but they're going to run on pure hydrogen, and maybe they're hoping it's going to offset their pollution. We shall see. Let's hope that they learn to use that new copper spray to knock down a lot of the pollution. We'll see.
Right. So Palladium was up 1.5% last week, second consecutive higher weekly close. Still well within the established range.
Yeah.
Um, Good news out of China with respect to auto sales. February, they sold 1.46 million units. It was a 365% increase over February of last year. So
Okay.
again, the kind of the heart of the COVID crisis in China, it was February last year. So not a
Right.
lot of cars were moving, but pretty impressive rebound. And it was
Big
the
numbers. Yeah.
11th consecutive uh, winning month, increase
For
for auto
EV.
sales.
Yeah, and EV has just been cranking there. So, a quick shout out to Canadian Palladium Resources up there in Canada. I just saw your drilling numbers. Congratulations, guys. Looks like you got a hit on your hands. And, keep going. Great guns. We need the product.
Right. And so just when, you thought copper was actually going to go into a bit of a sustained correction,
Oh, no, I
no
didn't.
thanks.
No, no, I didn't. If you think that I thought, hey, look at on this show 3 weeks ago, we said they're going to take copper down below $4, blow out all the weak shorts, hit all the stops, turn it around, and everybody that got short around that 389, 390 area is now 20 to 30 cents underwater, wondering what happened to their equity. This market is just too strong, and there isn't enough product around. And I'm telling you something that you don't want to be short here. I think there's the shorts have to run now. They're gonna have to. We're gonna have if nothing else, a blow off top.
Yeah. So copper was up 1% last week, sixth consecutive higher weekly close in copper. Things are getting a little volatile up here.
Yeah. Oh
Little,
yeah.
yeah, pretty wide ranges.
Well, like I said, congratulations. You're welcome to Dramamine trading. Take a pill and climb in. But if you have a weak stomach, it's going to be wild. But also, I think I wanted to mention that we're seeing China starting to build a lot more supplies, and they're starting to stockpile a lot more. I don't know what their plans are, but we're seeing a lot of metal going into there, and the furnaces are running. So something's going on, and I wonder if they're thinking that this New Deal infrastructure is going to pass here, and they're stepping ahead and looking to take advantage of that.
Right. Well, we'll have to see how all that plays out. But
Right.
if there's another $2 trillion worth of infrastructure spending in our
Yep.
future,
Absolutely. And
we're
and
got to get the steel from somewhere, right?
well, hey, look at you dump $2 trillion, and they have to put in all new lights in cities that like Detroit that don't have lights. I mean, literally sections of the city have everything's gone. I mean, so they're gonna have to put in new street lights, they're gonna have to put in new plug. I mean, all of that's got a steel tubing, everything we're gonna see a big jump in basis prices of all metals from steel tubing to copper wire, and it's going to be like now. It's going to be really choppy. You're going to have 25-cent swings in copper like you've never seen before.
So another interesting thing about copper is that it kills 99.9% of bacteria within
Right.
1 hour of contact. The COVID virus is
Uh-huh.
reportedly disintegrates on contact with copper. So imagine, and I wrote about this in my newsletter, but
Yeah.
imagine like all the high touch surfaces in railings and door handles
Sure.
and mass transit, the
Right.
grab bars and
Sure. The
stuff,
grab bars. Yeah.
all being
All
copper
made out of
coated.
copper. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Um, yeah, post COVID world, people are going to be really sensitive about bacteria and viruses, I think.
I think you're 100% right. Also, the fact the current research in the last year and a half in nanoparticles is going to continue to accelerate, and they will metals will again step forward and be able to kill viruses and bacteria on all new levels.
There you go. Some things you perhaps maybe didn't think about as a long-term driver of stuff
Hmm.
like copper and silver, for that matter as
Absolutely.
well.
Yep.
All
Cool.
right, my friend. I
I think we
think
got it.
that covers it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I will ask once again that if you're watching this, you give us a like, you give us a
Yeah.
follow.
Give us a follow, yeah. It will be in your
If
mailbox when you turn it on, and hopefully we can point out something that you didn't know.
Yeah, and if you have a need for physical metal, please visit us at zanerpreciousmetals.com. And with
And
that,
and with that, we're going to sign out. As we mentioned, all of our scrappers, all of our refiners, all of our producers should be on the Tornado platform hedging, because it's going to be wild, and you need to protect your companies coming into this new melee, because and we will work with your bankers too, by the way.
wonderful. Thanks a lot, Pete. I'm Peter Grant with Zaner Metals in Denver.
You got it. Pete Thomas in Chicago. Thank you for coming and seeing us. We appreciate it.